Hello, and welcome to the final panel for today. We'll be having a look at retail trade, retail property, the segment which a lot of people have dividing opinions on right now. There are some investors that are still going for retail, others won't touch it at all, and we have two leading experts here to tell us about where it's all heading and the changes that are taking place in the sector, and things that we can see evolving in the retail business and in the retail segment right now. Okay, we've got Rosie Haslem. She's a managing director with Streetsense in London. Welcome, Rosie.
Thanks, Stelios.
And we've got Selvane Mohandas Menil, managing director of International Association of Department Stores, IADS. How do you?
Kalispera, Stelios.
Welcome to Athens. Before we get into the details of how it's all evolving right now, if each of you could just give us a brief introduction about what it is that you do and your involvement, and where you see things evolving, your position right now. Rosie, can you just
yeah, sure.
start off for us?
Managing Director of Streetsense UK. So I'm based in London in the UK, and I'm driving that side of the business. But the business originally started in the US, so we've got studios in New York, Washington, DC, and LA. Essentially, we're a place and experience strategy consultancy. So really all about working with clients who have assets from the scale of a single building to a whole part of a city, and helping them really rethink and reimagine what those places of any scale can be, based upon thinking about the people that this place is for and how we create something really authentic and meaningful that is partly about a physical shaping of the place and partly about telling its story. So it really resonates, differentiating places at a time when actually, the generic is really not going to work. So whilst we're not solely retail focused, retail is increasingly, a huge part of everything we do, both from the sense of the kind of challenged retail of people realizing that spaces are over-retailed, too much retail, it's not working. How do we reimagine this and create something meaningful and that's going to drive real value? To the other side of it, where people are coming to us saying, we want to put retail into a mixed-use development, but how do we get it right? So our role is there to try and understand, again, what is this wider place all about, and how can you use retail to really create a sense of place that is fitting for that place, that's going to drive footfall, that's going to really create part of that brand experience and tailored to the people that are there. So in the same way that the company is not necessarily retail focused, I'm not as much of a specifically retail expert as Selvane is. That's not my full background. My background is as a human geographer. I know we were talking about this earlier, and what does that mean? So essentially, my interest is in people and place. So how the architecture and design of a building, a city, but also through a deep understanding of people and human behaviour. And that's essentially the lens I bring to today, I guess.
Selvane, tell us a little bit about your position and how you see things.
So first of all, it's a true pleasure to be here with you today. Thank you for accommodating me. So the International Association of Department Store is an association that has been founded in 1928. And the goal is to get together all the department stores company in the world to help them work together, exchange best practices, ideas, processes. We also carry on some projects where they work together when it comes to systems, to human management, to retail techniques, to brand negotiations. And the association has been doing that for 94 years. We currently have 12 members in the world, so we have one member by country because it's based on confidential exchanges, of course. So in France, we have people like Galeries Lafayette, Corte Inglés in Spain, Palacio de Hierro in Mexico, SKP in Beijing, which is the leading department store in the world now. So it's truly an international association, and the goal is to learn from each other. And in Greece, Menil used to be part of the association, and we're also closely following the local companies here as well.
Before we came out, we'll get into the segment straight away. But before we came out, we were talking about the fact about the interest that investors and the interest that you've been hearing about in Athens and in Greece in particular. obviously, you know, the country's gone through an enormous crisis and it's emerged from this, and we have very many challenges taking place right now. Tell us a little bit about the mood in terms of how people are perceiving right now the Athens Athens market.
Greece is hot in terms of perception, at least within retailers. Many people have heard about the project, like, you know, the Hellinikon project, which is coming in a few years' time. Everybody's pretty excited because that will be the largest mixed-use space in Europe. So everybody's very curious to see what it look like, and also on a personal basis, we can feel that there is a lot of curiosity about what's going on in Greece and Athens in particular. We joked, but it was not a joke, but one common saying that I've heard many times in Europe is that Athens is the new Berlin in the sense of opportunities coming up in terms of real estate, retail, and creativity as a whole. So it's really cool to be here.
Very interesting to hear that. The retail segment, department stores, in order to survive, like many things that emerged from the pandemic, it needed to change, needed to adjust, needed to reinvent itself. How are department stores adjusting?
Well, first, just like real estate, department stores have been living in a permanent crisis for the past 2 years. Like, you know, you have the COVID, you have inflation, you have a war, you have whatever you name it, you get it. So basically the thing is that what was interesting was to see how department stores decided to accommodate tech, use the technology and the online channel in order to become more relevant. Let's be clear, physical retail is far from being dead. You know, that's a true, I mean, that's a firm statement. We see that now, for instance, in almost all the companies that we have as members, they have all topped already their 2019 sales. The only thing is that now they are harnessing the capabilities of online in order to become more relevant and to make sure that the store stays attractive. In Athens, for instance, I would say that, like, you know, I cannot see a moment or a future where Attica will be just a website. And if you go to the store now, you see that they're making a permanent improvement. They have refurbished the sports section 6 months ago. They just have refurbished the men's section, which is quite interesting in terms of store display and sales processes. And, like, you know, it's all about making sure that the store remains relevant. However, you need to also be in line with the time. So that's why, like, you know, all the online digital capabilities are very important. During the pandemic, most department stores companies which were very late in digital, decided to accelerate in terms of online sales, and especially on the buy online and pick up in store kind of capabilities. This helped them improving their capabilities of providing a special experience and providing a very efficient way of delivering goods. Right now, if you live in Barcelona or in Madrid, Corte Inglés is able to ship to your place any kind of product that you want within 3 hours. When I say any kind of product, it means that in the same order and with the same delivery guy, you can get a Louis Vuitton bag and a piece of fresh meat in the same shipment in 3 hours. Boyner in Turkey has just announced 4 weeks ago that they are launching a new service, which is to ship any kind of product. We are not into supermarket here, it's only department store, but any kind of product can be shipped in the whole of Turkey in 90 minutes, all right? 3 hours in Barcelona and Madrid, 90 minutes in the whole of Turkey. Even Amazon doesn't do that, right? So it's just a way to show that it's all about making the most of whatever capabilities you have at hand in order to provide a better service. But at the same time, the store remains central in the sales process. Like, you know, you go, and the name of the game is to make sure that your store becomes a destination. Attica project is very clear. You go to Athens, as a tourist, you want to go and check what's going on at Attica. You're a Greek person, and, like, you know, Attica is a staple name, and you want to make sure that also you know what's going on. I have 2 examples to illustrate what I say. During the pandemic, Galeries Lafayette in Paris had a very interesting initiative. Instead of, like, you know, having a lot of advertising or special activities, they proposed to customers to have access to a personal shopper who was literally with a cam going into the store. Why? Because during the pandemic, everybody was under lockdown, but they were still able to provide a store experience at that moment. And right now in Paris, and I'll be finished with after that, right now in Paris, if you go to Bon Marché, you have the possibility to attend a play, a theater play, all right? So every Friday and every Saturday night, after the store closes, you can attend a play based on Émile Zola's novel Au Bonheur des Dames, which is literally the book where he described Bon Marché that we know today. And actually, this play is in the store, right? And during the whole night, you go with the actors all across the store. To attend that, you need to buy a ticket. It's 75 euros a ticket, so it's pretty expensive. They have issued 6,000 tickets from September to December, and right now it's sold out.
So let me get this straight. The theatre is in the...
The play is in the store.
All right, so the goods are here, the shelf with the items, and the seats are here, and up there's the stage. So
you have the actors, you have the people, and someone is dealing with the people, saying, okay, now we need to move, and you go to the other room and everything, and the play is taking place in the store. That's a way to make the store relevant. And that shows also that people... I think that people are happier to go at Bon Marché on a Saturday night or a Friday night to attend the play rather than watching it on the screen.
I mean,
Rosie,
relevant, but also, sorry, just to jump in, relevant, but also, sweating the asset. How do you activate the retail store when actually people aren't shopping? You're driving more value by, driving money at those hours that it wouldn't even be used, and those are some of the ways that retailers need to think differently. It's not just a shop between 9 and 5 p.m. and then sitting vacant and empty.
I wanted to ask you about the experience, the retail experience. It kind of seems similar to me. It's similar to the conference experience. Prior to the pandemic, I've got another conference to go to. And then after the pandemic, we're all going to conferences, okay? Retail stores. I don't really want to go because I don't want to catch COVID. Whereas now we're seeing that the experience and being there is part of the retail operations. Tell us a little bit about how that's working.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we think fundamentally about what retail is, I mean, it's trade, it was the civilization. That was the reason that cities were created. That's how people came together in settlements, as a need to come together to interact and then to transact. And the interaction part of it is the experience, and it's interacting with the people, the person you're buying it from, the space in which you're in, the product that you're buying, touching it, smelling it, sensory. The whole thing was sensory. It was about sociality. And then the transaction bit at the end is kind of the bit that you need, but it's not really the bit that you don't think about that. You just know that you want to get the product. I think why this is so interesting, the rise of e-commerce that was, potentially suggesting that physical retail was dead, and as you said, it's not, and it's very much not, but it was a challenge to retail. COVID, we were actively told not to go and physically interact, not to physically experience stores. But post-COVID, what happens? What happens to a shop when you don't really need to go to a shop to buy the product? And that's where experience is so key, because I think post-COVID, what we all missed was physical interaction. What we missed was the sensory experience. So that is now the differentiator as to why people will go and shop. There's going to be so much retail, so many of the things we buy, we don't need to physically go there. And actually, let's not try and have these oversized retail stores to try and sell those bits that you don't need to go there. If it's repeat purchases, if it's things that you can order online, but for those other purchases, the physical experience is going to be the differentiator. It's how you engage with a product, it's how you engage with a brand, essentially, and just build joy. I think that so much of retail is not all about the purchase anymore. It is about the experience and building a customer base.
Before we came on, you mentioned, you gave me the example of a store. There was an e-shop, and then it moved and acquired its own premises. Okay, the bricks and mortar reformations, what was that?
Yeah, so I think that's an example of, kind of coming full circle, but also with this sort of technology, and how does technology drive in-store retail? So it's a best of both. So Reformation, online clothing, so has got a huge following, been very, very successful, and part of that success would have been not having the cost of physical stores. But interestingly, they've kind of come full circle and realised in order to build a brand and a following and actually drive further sales, they have now got some bricks and mortar stores. But what's interesting there is physically the store is an experience, but physically it's taking the best bits that are almost like a website. So you walk into the store, branded experience, you feel that you're immersed in the product, but it's a very beautiful store. You know, unlike going in as kind of a mass of clothes, they've got one of every garment in one size. You walk through, you choose it, but you choose it on a tablet, and you say, I want this dress in black. I'm going to order it in my size to a changing room. So you can have as little or as much contact with a physical human in there, but you're using tech to get that product garment into the changing room. Once you're in there, you can change your settings using tech to change the lighting, etc. If you want a different size, you order a different size. You can pay online there and then in the changing room. So it's kind of taking the best of technology, using that to drive the physical experience, but also saying they are going into the physical space rather than just being online to try and build connection with people.
How is tech helping the department stores?
To know better the customers and to serve better. It's all about the clienteling services that help to have a very, very focused and personalized experience. I give you two examples to illustrate. The simplest way to personalize is to have someone in the store doing something for you, right? So, for instance, if you all go to Paris, I do advise you to go and visit La Samaritaine, not because it's a beautiful building, but because they have gifting options which are really, really outstanding. And everybody now is going to La Samaritaine just because they have gifting options that you can personalize. You can choose the color of your ribbon. You can print whatever you want on the ribbon, on the paper. They do a personalized gift wrapping, which is outstanding. However, that's very simple. If you go to Denmark, Magasin du Nord, which is the oldest department store in Copenhagen, they have teamed up with a series of new startups which help them to know, which helps customers to be known from the company and to book their own services and to get some specific perks according to who they are, what kind of customers they are, and what they bought. All right? And the best example that we can have is in London with Bouras, which is Bouras is a store which has been purchased by Farfetch. That was like 10 years ago now or something. And actually, Bouras as a store is connected with what Farfetch, which is a huge fashion platform, knows about you, right? The best case scenario is basically you're traveling from New York to London. In the plane, you're just selecting on the app offline the looks that you like and that you want to try. Once you arrive, the app communicates with the store, and when you arrive at the store, they identify you, they know what your name, they know what your size, they know what you bought, they know what you like, and they know what you would like to try as well. So it's all about making sure that those huge department stores, which are really big, they sell a lot of stuff, more than 1 million SKU a season, they are able to serve better the customer. And this is somehow working.
Excellent, great. Well, it's very interesting to see how it's emerging from these changing conditions. Obviously, it needs to reinvent itself, just like everything else does. And thanks very much for the insight into what you see happening from your patch. I'm sure we all learned something today. Thank you all for being with us until the very end. I'd like to remind you that straight after this, or in an hour's time, the organisers have also organising a party, which will be held here. So don't go anywhere or go somewhere and come back in an hour. And thank you all for your attendance.